Hey there, and welcome to the daily podcast where wisdom smacks us with kisses or love taps. I'm MichelleSpiva, a wisdom strengthening coach, your host, and practical priestess of wisdom. Mwah. Join us daily to gain wisdom and mental strength as we tackle innovative thinking, address emotional and behavioral life traps, and yes, provide you with some practical how to's to wrap it all up. So settle in or crank up the speed 2x, whatever gets your mental processes firing as we dive in. Stay tuned. Yay! Okay, I'm ready. Please tell me you know where we're going. Of course not. But hey, we got this. You shall seek and you shall find. Hey, this is MichelleSpiva, your practical priestess of wisdom, and I want to welcome you to today's podcast of Wisdom Smack. Mwah. So come on, stick with me. Join me on the flip as we get into talking about the seeker's way. I'll see you on the flip. It's going to be good. Okay, before we get started, I just need to say, today has been a day. I have been so emotionally all over the place that I was actually tired. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do my podcast today, but I'm here. And I just want to say that in the midst of everything, what gets me going and keeps me coming back is knowing that even though I don't see your face, I know you're there and I know you're listening and I know you're sending me support and we're in this together. And so I'm just so very thankful that I have you and that I appreciate you. And thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me daily. I appreciate it. It helps me so very much. So thank you. All right. So let's talk about the seeker's way. Now, when we talk about seeking, the famous seek and you shall find comes to pass and comes to thought or mind or whatever I'm trying to say here. I'm stumbling over my words, but this is me. This is what you get. Okay. And so what I'm saying is this that the seeker's way is when you go into the unknown without a guide, when you go trying to figure it out as you go. But you go understanding that there is something out there calling back to you. There is something that is waiting on just you to find it. It's being able to deal with life in life. And I want to stop on that for just a minute because it took me a minute to get that in and understand what that means. Dealing with life in life, it is where we are forced sometimes by the circumstances that happen to break our monotony and deal with our lives and deal with the benchmarks and the things we're supposed to hit and the things we're supposed to go through. And going back to today and my emotional all over the place, just so many unexpected things and expected things are going on. And each one of them commands my time and my attention and my focus. And when I look back on my day, I'm like, even though I had ups and downs and all of this, I managed to get way more done today than I normally do. Not because I'm lazy during other days, it's just that today caused me to have to do so much, putting out my fires and all of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, this is what happens when you branch out to seek and see what you can find, see what you can learn and what you can do and go into the unknown. And I was like, I have to talk about this because I'm going to be honest with you. It's been a minute since I wanted to talk about what the seeker's way looks like. So y'all, if you will stick with me, I promise you it's going to be entertaining, hopefully insightful, and a good little wisdom smack. So the seeker's way. I have been talking about different types of intelligences on this channel. I say channel, on this podcast for a long time. I have talked about intelligence quotient, which is IQ. I've talked about emotional intelligence. I've talked about social intelligence. And I've talked about the fourth wall, the and AQ, adaptability quotient or intelligence. And today I was like, wow, in hindsight, I was probably getting myself ready for today because I'm going to tell you, I had to employ every single one of those intelligences today. I had to have some intelligence to know how to ask the right questions and how to seek to get the right answers and not just take the first thing that came to mind or the low hanging fruit or what, um, everyone expects you to do in a course of action. And because of that, and I was up doing this way early, and because of that, I was able to uncover some new things and be, different in new ways. And then on my emotional intelligence, I was able to quickly, more quickly than usual, assess what was going on with me. I wasn't dissociating and leaving out of my body and doing spiritual bypass where I'm all up in my mind racing and racing. I was able to, recognize that, okay, yeah, you need to breathe, you need to stay in your body, and you need to pay attention to how you're reacting, to these unexpected things that are happening today. And like I said, dealing with life in life. So I'm living this today, right? And not only am I living it, I'm dealing with it. And I'm like, this is different, but this is the seeker's way. And then with the social intelligence, on top of all of this, I was able to go and have a really nice lunch with a friend that I haven't seen in a while, who is going to agreed to come on the podcast and talk with us about some really cool stuff with insurance and things. And I'm just excited about that. I was like, wow, I was able to do my social intelligence and get out and see some people. And, after that, I did the grocery run and talked to folks there. And it was just amazing. And then coming back and dealing with some more unexpected things, I was able to quickly shift into what that mind flow required to handle that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I am a MacGyver. I am able to quickly adapt. And it made me happy because I'm like, wow, I do this every day. And I am able to live it when it hits me because it is something. You can have gone through something, you can have experienced something, and you can be well qualified to give someone advice. But that ain't me. But I mean, what I'm saying is you can do all of that, but it does not matter if when you go through the things that you're giving advice about, you can't take your own advice or you can't learn and you can't operate that way. To me, that's a no-go. That's not cool. And so I'm quite happy about that. So now what does all this have to do with the seeker's way? So with the seeker's way, one of the things that I always remember when I'm thinking about seekers, I'm thinking about quest, I'm thinking about adventure, and I'm thinking about obstacles and booby traps and treasures and interesting sights and peoples along the way. And that is what we're talking about because the life well lived is a life that mimics if you're not knowingly trying to seek, your life will still mimic that. And there will be days like I had today. There will be days when you wake up and hell is knocking on your door or busting your door down, I should say, and things you wouldn't have even understood or had any inkling that were going to happen. And it is par for the course. It is part of living a life. It's kind of like if you're doing it right, you're going to have these days. You're going to have these Indiana Jones days. You're going to have days when it feels like you are running away from a human-sized bowling ball rolling toward you. And I am just grateful because like I said before, it was hard pressed. I was like, am I going to be able to get my mind right to do my podcast? And by the time I got to the second part of my day and that adaptability quotient that I've been working on kicked in, I was like, oh, yes. Oh, yes. When I get through with everything and be able to sit down, I will come to you guys and I will give as good as I can. I will make sure that I let you know that in this wisdom game, there are going to be some days when you are tested, but there is a great way of handling it, and that is to adapt into being a seeker. Now, let's talk a little bit about being a seeker. So, when you're talking about the seeker's way and being a seeker, of course, there is a high amount of curiosity that you want to bring to the game. Because if you're not curious about anything, you're not going to go very far. Because that's a whole part of being a seeker, checking out everything, not just taking things at face value, looking under, every stone, leaving no stone unturned, looking at different angles, testing yourself to see if there is a way for you to explore more, to learn more, to do more with what you have maybe always experienced but took taken for granted. And not only do you have to have a certain amount of curiosity, you know what you also need to have? You need to have a wee bit of courage. Mhm. And this is the thing that I didn't realize I was going to develop when I started really seriously looking at being a seeker, going out against the grain of what others might think that a life well lived should be, getting off of the beaten path. And this courage it's different because it's not just saying I have courage in myself. No, this courage is where you do it in spite of yourself. You do it knowing that you're possibly going to mess up. You're possibly going to have a lot of stumbles. And the courage that I'm really getting to is the courage to fail in front of people over and over again. When I was going through something today, one of a person I've known for a very long time, I was, just quickly telling them what I'm dealing with, and and because I was moving and grooving today, y'all. And this person said something that caught me up for a minute. And I said, I'm just cycling. And they were like, well, I'm tired of you. Aren't you tired of cycling like this? Man, when is this going to stop? And just for a little bit of a moment, it cut me. And I was like, you know what? It cut you because you care, and it cut you because there is truth to that. And then I had to realize, this is the life I chose, the life of an entrepreneur, of an adventurer, of a living off the beaten path, making my way out here, doing things that I might not have any kind of precedent. In the A part, I talked about, do we know where we're going? Nope, we don't. But we're still doing it. And every day being an adventure and understanding that you have to have the next thing I want to talk about is faith. You have to have that faith to know that no matter how dark it gets, as long as you can believe in the process of the seeker's way, and as long as you can believe in yourself, that things always tend to work out. No matter how much you might miss the mark and you might be penalized and you might be set back, things tend to work out. And this is the other thing. So, you've got your curiosity, you've got your courage, and you've got your faith. I'm going to talk a little bit more about faith, but what I want to wedge in there is this is that when you are a seeker, when you are going in this way, people start to admire you. Remember the other day I talked about we need to learn to admire more, do more admiration, because admiration gives us power, influence, and it builds our reputations. Think about people that you admire. A lot of times, they will be people who march to their own beat. They are unique. They are very individualistic. They go after and do what it is in their heart. They don't normally wait for permission from other people. They do what it is that their heart leads them to do. And they don't need feedback from other people. And so, within the faith of going out and doing the seeking, that faith encompasses the fact that a lot of times you won't get good feedback or you won't get any feedback because a lot of people won't even know what you're trying to do. They might be like, oh, she's a cuckoo. She's just out there. I don't see how she's doing it. I don't see why she's doing it. Why doesn't she just conform? Or why doesn't he just act and behave like everyone else? And I have learned that in doing the seeker's way, You're always going to find something. And the thing about finding stuff is you find stuff that ends up helping those very people that don't understand why you are that lone wolf, why you are out there scouting out ahead of time, why you are going into the unknown like a happy, giddy, silly little fool. But yet and still, it calls to you. It calls. And I'm going to say the seeker's way is different from the adventurer's way. They have a lot of similarities, but they are different in that the adventurer a lot of times will go with someone. You see, an adventurer is out for the excitement and the thrill of the unexpected and the journey. The seeker is out there by themselves a lot of times, looking for the hidden, looking for the things that have to be sussed out with finesse and with a fingertip touch. We've talked about that on a podcast before. Shout out to my my German friends and my German listeners. Love you guys. Thank you for showing up and listening to me every day. I see y'all. Thank you. But anyway, getting back, the seeker. The seeker looks for specific things. The seeker looks to satisfy a curiosity that might take them down a winding course, but they don't care because they know and they have faith that if I seek, I'm going to find. A seeker is never settled with just taking your word for it. A seeker has lots of questions, and these questions help to propel their life. You see, when we talk about a seeker, we're talking about uh, that person who is or can be the catalyst to drive a culture forward. And when I talk about a culture forward, what I'm talking about is being able to test the waters and say, hey, you guys, the water is fine. You can come on in. I've said this in other times, and there's a statement by Mark Cuban, the American businessman, and he was asked about his seeker's tendencies, about going out first. And there are some advantages known as like first movers advantage and all of that. But for as many advantages there are some cons as well. And that is you get a lot of arrows in the back, for people who are not necessarily on your side when you're going out and doing these things. And what he says about moving out there on his own and being the first and knowing that you go first, you probably are the one that gets shot at the most. He says he just wears a vest. And I like that. But for me, what I like to say is serpentine, bob weave, serpentine pattern. Keep moving. Never get predictable. There's this wonderful YouTuber that I like, Terrell Grice, and he has a saying that he says, "Do not predict me. I am not the weather." And that's how I feel when I'm having these days. And so let me go on and start getting into the wisdom smack of the seeker's way and what it really means for you if you're looking for a change in your life. And I'm going to say this, we have been talking about chaos a lot. And I was making a joke with someone today when I said, I've been talking about chaos. And she's like, hello, it's me. It's me you're looking for. And she is doing her thing in my life. And I'm like, chaos, I love you, but baby, must you come so hard and so close so fast? And so the other person was laughing. And the wisdom smack came at that time. And I was like, wow. When you set out to do things that you've never done before, when you make these bold proclamations and got the nerve to write them down in a journal, the heavens and the earth conspire, as Paulo Coelho would say in The Alchemist. They conspire to make them so in your life. And just like the main character of that book, sometimes the seeker's way will call you to go out only to realize that what you were seeking for was right there with you, but uh you couldn't appreciate it until you had had this experience. Now, I'm not saying what you're seeking for is right there with you. I don't know that. I don't know that for you, and I don't even know that for the situation that I find myself in. But what I do know is this, and that is that the fact that we are conditioning ourselves to meet and greet the unknown every day is part of the blessing. I am a creature of habit. I'll tell you, if I get off of my routine, things go crazy. And some of that happened today that caused me to have to quickly adapt to a few things. And I said a few, more than a few things of what I needed to do. But I handled it. And thus I was talking about the whole adaptability quotient thing. I was like, wow, my adaptation is quick and strong. And I was happy about that. But this is the thing that I had to get in that wisdom. It's that unknown without a guide. The unknown without a guide. Think about the last time you didn't have a map or access to a map, maybe on your phone or even a paper one from days gone by. Think about the last time you had to go somewhere. You did not know where you were going. You didn't have a map to show you any kind of way, and you just had to wing it. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, the last time I can remember doing that, I was actually in Germany, in Heidelberg. And I was trying to catch a flight and I needed to get to the airport. And when I got to the airport, I didn't know where I was going. I did not have a map. And I felt so discombobulated. And I remember American mind here. I remember going to the escalator and looking at it. And it's like, why are all the escalators broken? Because they weren't moving. And it wasn't until I saw another family go and step onto the escalator that it started moving for them, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." And way back then, because this wasn't recent, this was, like, at least 10 years ago. Back then, I started realizing that when you are seeking and not just seeking adventure, but just seeking for specific things in your life along your life's pattern, you have to start embracing the unknown without a guide because it's going to strengthen you. And so, by even just seeing that example, it gave me permission to be more interactive with my environment. It caused me to test more things, try more things, approach more things instead of just trying to get straight and direct to the point of where I was trying to go. And when I started doing that, okay, I learned about the escalators, did that. I started opening my eyes to another level of my environment to try to in tune myself with how it was designed because it was actually a really good design, intuitive design. And when I started getting past my fear of not knowing what to expect and not having it behave like I would have thought it would have, the things would behave in the United States, I actually started enjoying going through the airport and finding my destination. And believe it or not, I ended up not having to ask anyone how to get to my gates, how to get to my way. And I felt a sense of accomplishment. I felt a sense of pride. And I felt like I can do this. I can do this. And it was just an amazing thing. And like I said before, this happened a long time ago. I would not have put two and two together, I don't believe, if I hadn't started this seeker's journey on my own um in the recent years as well, of doing new things, of seeing where life will take me, how life will go, and being willing to fight myself when I start leaning too much on the known and the safe. And so the wisdom is in the unknown. The wisdom is in understanding that you're not going to always have a guide. You're not going to always have a map. You're not going to always uh, be in it for adventure. But if you remember to have curiosity, if you can remember to expand and use your faith, and if you can remember to be willing to uh, look for the hidden and be that lone wolf that goes out and is willing to take those hits. Maybe they're shots from behind or shots but from before, but serpentine and wear a vest. Those are going to be things that really make life more enjoyable. I will say this. It's scary. I wish I could say it wasn't. But If you never take a chance on anything, you never will know all of the serendipity out there waiting to excite you and invite you into a world that is so much better than playing it safe and staying at home. And I just I wanted to share this with you when it was time, and I was like, I might sound like I'm crazy, but I don't believe that we would have these desires and these paths before us if they weren't for our edification. Um, just being able to go and experience things that are unexpected, you don't know what to expect, and then a lot of them are very delightful. Some of them are not so, but the good far outweighs the bad. Helps me and hopefully you to understand that when you take more chances to go and seek and find for yourself, to go into the unknown, that the unknown is not going to necessarily be your adversary. The unknown, a lot of times, will embrace you. The unknown will thank you for taking the leap of faith by rewarding you with landing on something really solid that is going to help propel you even more and give you even more faith. We talk about confidence and how to build it. And I talked about this in previous podcasts. And one of the things I have found when you want to be a confidence builder, the best way that I have found is to do faith exercises. Do things where it's a seeker's way. If you don't like the term of seeking, if you don't have a high curiosity, but maybe you love adventure, make it the adventurer's way and take some friends with you and do something new. Um, but do it because we are truly in a time of chaos, and Mother Chaos is here to disrupt, to break up, to make it messy, to make it illogical, to make it where you don't know what side is up, which way is coming or going, so that you will break out of these patterns that are so orderly that they move us into death, they move us into stillness, they move us into constriction because they have ordered themselves down to the point of being um, immovable. And thus, that's why when we talked about when we talked about chaos and order, order always leads back to chaos, and chaos always leads back to order. And so, even with that, with all the stuff that I had going on today, I still managed to come and talk with you guys and got excited about it. I guess y'all can tell I'm a little excited. And I was like, today is the day I get to talk about the secrets way because I am definitely on a quest this day. And being able to share with you and hopefully say something that will ignite that fire in you to know it's okay and it's going to work out. And no matter what the fogginess in front of you looks like, you've got this. You've got this because if you seek, you will find. So, in my last few minutes, this is a thing that I want to say, and that is understand that each person has their own journey to make, of course, and no one can tell anyone else how to live their life or what to do about it. But what I will say is this is that when you have the invitation to do something that's scary, when you have the invitation to move out of your comfort zone, and when you have the invitation, and when I say that word, I'm trying to be nice about it, when you're forced a lot of times to do something, don't waste 1 second bemoaning it, begrudging it, fearing it, or despising it. Embrace it for all it has because Mother Chaos, she says, I might come in with destruction, but I leave you with blessings and order. I give you newness. I give you new life. I give you creativity. And so I'm just embracing this because yes, I could choose to look at all of the things that I've had to do today because it's not over, by the way, y'all. It's not over. I could choose to look at it like, what in the world? Oh my gosh. Or I could choose to look at it the way I am and see all the wonderful things. I literally had something be destroyed today, and I felt a weight lifted because it fixed something that I didn't know could be fixed. But because this thing got done away with, destroyed, this other thing was like, whoa, okay, no more. And I was like, oh my gosh, who would have thought that I would have gotten freedom from this albatross by this? It was just amazing. And I was like, I know that this is wisdom. I know that this is mother wisdom. And so be encouraged. No matter what is ahead of you, no matter what you think you have to do, understanding that if you seek, you will find, and understanding that things usually turn out for the good. And understand this, use that curiosity and that inquisitiveness you have. Be willing to exercise your faith and know that there is a great gift. The wisdom is in the unknowing, and in going without a guide so that wisdom can show you some things that you might have missed if you were putting your dependence on someone who had been there before. So, yeah, y'all, my time is up. I thank you for yours. I'm so freaking proud of myself and I'm thankful and grateful for you that we're doing it. We're doing it, you guys. By faith, we're doing it and I'm so excited. So, guess what? My time really is up. Don't forget to check the show notes. Thank you for everyone who is supporting us. I thank you for the $5 and the 25. I thank you for all of it. Thank you for my Patreon sponsors. Thank you for my Cash App, Venmo people. Thank you for my people who are doing donations and sponsors. Thank you all. So, yes, this has been Michelle Spiva, your practical priestess of wisdom, with another podcast of Wisdom Smack. Mwah, I love you to pieces, and I am going to see you tomorrow. All right, bye. And that's going to do it for today's podcast of Wisdom Smack with Michelle Spiva. If you like this podcast, please help us get the word out. Like, comment, subscribe, and even share. And if you really like it, please help us continue to get the word out by considering using this show's link for Amazon. So when you want to go to Amazon and you do all of your general shopping, please use MichelleSpiva.com/AMZ. It's simple as that. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and this show might receive a little bit of commission that will go towards helping to further get these episodes out to you and to others. So thank you so much for listening. This has been Michelle Spiva with Wisdom Smack. Bye.